going to be making a simple project, which is an Arduino project, and this project is just a siren system, which is going to be like a police siren system. So it is going to basically make the police siren noise and also display the police lights with the press of a button. And so basically our main component will be a button, the button, and then the buzzer, and finally our LED light. So we are going to start the setup. So we are continuing with our setup. So for our setup, we are going to mainly need our Arduino Uno, our breadboard, our buttons, our button, our buzzer, our two LEDs, then our wires, and finally our 220 ohm resistor. So before we start in connections, we have to make sure our breadboard is connected to the ground. You have to make sure that the ground is connected to the breadboard. So you're going to look for the ground, which is the GND on the Arduino Uno. So GND here, we are going to just connect it to the negative side of the breadboard. So what this connection is going to do is that it's going to make sure that all the side is the ground, so that there will be no need for you to connect each component, each and every individual component directly to the ground. So it's going to make it easier. So our first component we'll be connecting is our button. So the button has two legs in front and two legs at the back. So the first two, will be placing the button like this on the breadboard here. Then you press, so we are done. But we'll be connecting one of the legs to the ground and the other to the digital pin. So the digital pin is the pins number 2 to 13. 0 and 1 is not part of the digital pin. So we are continuing. First of all, we connect the first leg to the ground, then the second to the digital pin. The digital pin, which is, for us, we are going to be using digital pin number 11. So we are done with the connection for the button. So the next is our two LEDs. So for mostly the police siren system has the LEDs as red and blue, but we'll be using the red and green for now. So for any connection involving LEDs, there is a need for a resistor to control the amount of current passing through. It is safer that way to prevent any issue. So our LED is going to work with the 220 ohm resistor. So first of all, what you have to know about the LED is that there's a long leg and a short leg. So the short leg is a negative, and then the short leg is going to be connected to the ground, and then the long is going to be connected to the digital pin. Then first of all, we connect our resistor from the ground here to this side. Then we connect the resistor, the short leg to the resistor. So how we are going to know if they are connected is that for the breadboard, for this side, all horizontal pins or holes are connected. So they are connected in series. And then for this side, which is a negative and a positive, all the holes are connected in series like this, horizontally. So we are going to connect the other long leg here, to a digital pin. So we'll be using digital pin number 9. Then since we are using two LEDs, we are going to add our second, and we are going to use the same step. We connect our resistor from the ground to the hole here, connect the resistor to the short leg of the LED, and then we connect the long leg of the LED to the digital pin. So our resistor to our ground, then connecting it to the short leg, short leg. Short leg. Then the last step is to connect the long leg, which is also known as the cathode, to a digital pin. So you connect it to digital pin number 7. Then we are done with our button, our LEDs, and finally our buzzer to make the siren sound. So the siren sound also, like the LED, has two legs, which is the long and the short, or the cathode and the anode. We are going to connect the short leg to the ground and the long leg to the digital pin. So we just place it down. We should make sure we notice which side the long leg is going and which side the short leg is going to. So we connect. I notice that my long leg is at this side and my short leg is at this side. So we connect the long leg to the digital pin. You're connecting it to digital pin number 5, and you connect the other to the ground. So this is going to be our setup for the Arduino project we are doing. We are going to move on to the code or our sketch. Since we are doing Arduino, instead of saying code, we are going to say sketch. We are going to move on to the sketch. So let's move on to the sketch. So we are continuing with our sketch or our code for other Arduino. So before we even begin with the main code or the code itself, we are going to give names to the pin numbers to make the code easier to understand. The numbers you are going to give are not just any ordinary numbers, but the numbers depending on the digital pins each component was connected to. So first of all, the green is the green LED, and this is the digital pin it was connected to. Then we move on to the red LED connected to digital pin 7, connected to digital pin 4, and then the button which was connected to the digital pin 11. Then we have the siren active, which is a variable that remembers if the siren should be playing true or not false. And so it's also a boolean, which means that a boolean can only take true or false, and it has been initialized as false. So we are moving on to the other part of the code or the sketch. So the code written in the void setup is supposed to run just one. So pin mode green output is supposed to set the green LED as an output, and then the pin mode red output is supposed to set the red LED as an output. Also the pin mode buzzer output is supposed to set the buzzer also as an output. Finally, the pin mode button input pull-up is supposed to set the button as an input pull-up. So the LEDs and the buzzers are set as output because they are supposed to output signals, produce light or produce sound. And then the button is set as an input pull-up because it's supposed to send signals or input signals into the system. Now we are moving on to the void loop. As I said earlier, the code in the void loop is supposed to run more than once. So in the void loop, the code has been divided into two. First of all, the first part is to check if the button is pressed. So if the button is pressed, if digital read button is slow, the siren is not equal to siren active. Which means that the siren active is going to be equal to false, or it's going to be equal to false, and there's going to be a delay here, a delay of 0.2 seconds. And we are going to move on to the second part of the code in the void loop. So after if the information has been read or has been input from the button, whether it's true or false, we are going to use that information, whether true or false, to continue here. So in this second if statement, if siren active, that's false. The digital write green one and tone buzzer, which is initialized with a frequency of 850. So when the siren is active, it alternates between the blue or the green LED with a high tone of 850 Hz at 0.5 seconds, and with the red LED is going to alternate with the lower tone 650 Hz for 0.5 seconds. So the reason why we are doing this is that we don't want the siren to produce the same sound and then both of the lights to turn on at the same time. Otherwise, it won't produce that police siren effect. However, when we are able to make sure the alternate, the light, the green LED alternates with the buzzer at a different frequency as the other red LED alternating with the buzzer at another frequency, we are going to produce a perfect police system. And as part of the if statement, when we've written the first part of the if statement, the other part of the if statement is that when the siren, if siren is active, this, but if it is not active, this is supposed to run. That is when the button is pressed and it's read as true or maybe false, it's going to stop. It's going to stop. So when you press it once, it runs. When you press it the second time, then it stops. So this is all the sketch. This is what the sketch is going to do for us. Now, as we've already done the setup, we've written our sketch now. We can try our setup now. We can work our code with our setup now so that we can see or display it. So we are continuing with the project. After doing our setup and writing our sketch, it's now time to put the sketch and the setup together. With the help of our Arduino IDE, we are going to test. So I'm going to still brief you all on what the setup or the sketch is going to do. So with the help or the press of a button, it's going to turn on a police siren system, which is going to produce two different sounds and two different colors alternating together, so that it's going to make that police effect. So the first thing you're going to do is to just press our button here and see if it's going to work or our sketch is working. So we are going to press it, and so luckily for us, it's running now. So the button is going to control the police siren. So we've pressed it to turn it on. Now you are going to press it to turn it off again. So you can see now that the button is going to use it to turn off or on the police siren system. And this is all for the project. So thank you.